This is Lindsay Williams, and you're listening to the Drunkard United show. Bless your little cotton socks.
That's one of our old school original ones. That's like one of our first ever intros, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, it is.
We're going to have to get Her Highness herself back on the show again to do another one.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Mel did that because Villa won, and apparently Villa fucks again.
Yeah.
Let's start the show.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Huston.
Sam Huston?
Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Smell the Malort. Looks great in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.
Fucking United! Fucking United!
Hello and welcome to the Drunkard United Football Show, a completely biased recap of the English Premier League as told by two common American schmucks. I am your host, Sam Huston, and across the internets from me in lovely Baltimore, Maryland, is my esteemed co-host, Mr. Samuel Graham. Sammy.
Hello.
How you doing, brother?
Doing very well, thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, well, I figure you're doing stellar after your, sizzling red-hot dart bet fucking hit.
Come on, buddy. If you're going to be a degenerate, at least be a good one.
I was going to say, we already have one degenerate on the show that gives us bets. We don't need you to become one too, man. We don't need you to be legitimately losing the kids' college fund, okay?
Let me tell you something. This week in legitimate sports betting, or in legitimate betting, period, I'm up about $400.
That a boy. Well done to you.
Yeah.
It won't go horribly wrong at all.
No, not in the least on my four-way parlay in the championship for this weekend, or in my five-way parlay in the Premier League, which are the only 5 games playing.
He is definitely going down a wrong, treacherous path, people. We're recording at the DU Public House just outside the nation's capital. You can check us out on all podcast platforms. Please be sure to rate, subscribe, review, and share with a footballing friend. Should you want to chat with us, there is many ways that you can. Mr. Graham, tell the good people how they can get in touch.
Absolutely. It's very easy. It is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at DUfootballshow. On email, it's DUfootballshow@gmail.com. And then you can also visit our Patreon, of course, to support the show, patreon.com/DUfootballshow. And then the DU Drip Shack, which just go to the socials and you will get that link where you can buy some sweet DU swag.
Especially your straight out of sleeves shirt there, killer.
Hashtag Bants, baby.
Hashtag Bants. And since Graham can't be bothered to check the email, and I finally got around to not being lazy anymore and put email notifications back to my phone, we have an email from Keith that was 2 weeks ago that we're going to talk about later on in the show.
I was kind of busy, man, you know.
Okay. Sam and myself both work in the wine and spirit industry and both have a deep, passionate love for all things distilled spirits. So as the red-blooded Americans we are, we've got to have a drink in our hand throughout this show and every single show. Mr. Graham, we're both in different locations, so we're both drinking different things. How about you go ahead and take the first swing? What you drinking?
Absolutely. So first, just want to briefly mention, we always have side beers, and we discuss those side beers as we're about to discuss our whiskeys. We do that on the Patreon for the preview show, and then you can catch up with our weekends on the Soundcheck show, both of which you can get to for that one low rate of $5 a month. So just check that out again. I have got the Iwa Whiskey 45, which we've talked about. Previously, it was on the top 20 last year. It is a product of Japan, 90 proof, and it is probably the closest thing to bourbon produced outside of the United States that you can get.
Yeah, it's really good. That was a big fan favorite of everybody when we did the whiskey show and had everybody out on the back patio enjoying those whiskeys from the 2020 list. And yeah, really well received. Very, very good whiskey. I love it.
It's delicious.
How much is that going to run you, Sammy?
I think it was about $60 on the shelf.
Nope,
right around
much
there.
cheaper.
Really?
Like 40, 45.
All right, so about $45 on the shelf.
Yep, really great entry level price for a Japanese whiskey. And also, if you're not into Japanese whiskeys or haven't or been wanting to try them, go with something you know. It's a bourbon mash bill style. So it's like Sam said, the closest thing to bourbon you're going to get that's not from the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. What do you got, Sammy?
I am drinking a bourbon. I am drinking the Hill Rock Solera bourbon. This is an old Dave Pickerel project. He would commonly call this bottle. It was the Chanel number 750 because it's got the square look like a Chanel bottle. And this is a Solera style is when you have bourbon that gets aged in multiple barrels, right? And then ultimately finished in a sherry barrel, because the idea is this is the same system that sherry uses. Now, what they do with it is basically a pyramid, and the barrels are connected by like pipes throughout, and everything kind of commingles and mixes together. Well, in bourbon, as we know, you have to have brand new American white oak, or you can't call it a bourbon. So what these guys do is they actually do it all by hand. They have brand new bourbon in American white oak that normally sits for about 2 years. Then it makes its way into first a round of once used bourbon barrels, then another round of once used bourbon barrels, and then finishes up in an Oloroso sherry barrel. The plan is, as long as you have that sherry barrel never goes under 50% of whiskey in it, the oldest molecule and the youngest molecule of whiskey you've ever made is constantly commingling, so it doesn't have an age statement. So they've now been making whiskey for 10 years. Like, the average weight of this is somewhere between 4 to 5 years, but there's 10-year-old whiskey, there's 2-year-old whiskey. You know, it really all kind of commingles together. Also not cheap, so it's going to run you about $90 on the shelf. But that's also because it's seeing 4 different layers of wood. And then when they do this, when they take whiskey out of the Oloroso sherry barrel, they do that by hand because they can't dump the whole barrel. You can't just roll it over and dump it. So then you take out the right amount, then you have to take a little bit out of all the third barrels, put it into the Oloroso barrel. Then you have to take a little bit out of all the second aged barrels, put it into the third aged barrels. Then you have to dump new whiskey and top off all the second barrels while you make whiskey to put in new barrels again. So it's very, very labor intensive. So whenever you see something on a price point level, the way you can tell if you're getting worked for something, like it's a unicorn or a popular bottle, something like Eagle Rare, while a good whiskey should not run you more than $40. You'll see it everywhere for $75 because they know everybody wants it and they're going to work you over for a price. When you start to see more expensive whiskeys, look at what they're doing to it. If it's seen an extra barrel, if it's seen a long period of time in that said first barrel, that will typically lead you to know this is what you're paying for. You're paying for something that's 15 years old, or you're paying for something that's been finished in a cognac barrel because it's very expensive, or a sherry barrel or Madeira barrel, whatever it ends up being. So
exactly.
But lovely little whiskey, and I'm glad to revisit it again.
Yeah, Hill Rock is awesome. I love that brand. It's just very expensive. So if you come across a bottle, grab it and treasure that. But remember also, everyone, which we won't do tonight because we're both in our own homes, drink responsibly.
Excellent. Again, more meta. I'm getting texts from that. Got to bleep that. From someone regarding things later on in the show. Anywho, Sammy, let's get into the action as I stumble all over myself.
Let's do that.
Wonderful. All right. We start with the games that weren't played, as the Omicron variant has unfortunately become the headline in place of the matches. Brentford-Man United, Burnley-Watford, Leicester City-Tottenham, all postponed. Graham, why don't you explain the ruling that goes behind why a game and how a game is postponed by the Premier League?
Absolutely. So I found this as reported on by Sky Sports. The rules state that the 2021-2022 Premier League handbook includes COVID protocols. It states that the Premier League's board will only, quote, only permit the rearrangement or postponement of a league match in exceptional circumstances, end quote. The board makes calls on a case-by-case basis. And by way of guidance, the Premier League says permission for postponement will not be granted if a club have 14 or more players from their squad list available. Sky Sports News understands The Premier League turned down further requests from clubs for games to be postponed due to COVID cases during the week commencing December 13th. Then we find out that Leicester-Tottenham, at the time that I read this and put this in, copy and pasted it into my notes to read to you today, Leicester-Tottenham was still a go at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
I heard on another one of the talk sports shows that I listen to on Sirius XM, the British radio station, sports talk station, basically said that if you don't have to shut your training ground down, that's in a quote unquote exceptional circumstance. And then 14 or more players from the squad list being available. So you do have 3 subs available to you, plus you can fill out with academy players. Then the game should go forward. As you've already stated in an off-air rant, you all had 8 first-team players missing.
Yeah. But
a couple of those were due to regular injuries.
Right. Oh, all of them were due to regular injuries. We apparently can't pass around the ball, and we can't pass around COVID either, Sam.
So it's more beneficial, actually, for you as a team to get COVID than pull a hamstring.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. It's regrettably, it feels like this is actually setting up somewhat of an unfair advantage for teams, especially considering it's the December window. So there's a lot of fucking games going on right now too.
Yeah, and to an extent, I understand what you're saying. A lot of the old adage, Tottenham will now, if they don't play this weekend, Tottenham will have 4 games in hand on that top 4,
mm-hmm.
and still be right around the number of points, right? The old, coach's adage that I'd rather have the points on the board than the games in hand, I think is going to see this season be proven this season. I think it's going to play out, and we're going to really see what happens when the pressure's on, and if you can beat who you're supposed to beat in that situation, because the league's going to be essentially wrapped up, at some point or another, and Tottenham's going to have to play these games against Brighton, against Burnley, and then, Leicester now.
Mm-hmm.
And where they want to be in the profile of coach they have, they're going to need to win those games to put those points that they have in hand on the board and, quote unquote, fly to the heights that they strive to be at. But if you're staring at, we have to win all of these or we're not in Europe again.
Yeah.
Can they get the job done? It's an added level of pressure.
Yeah, it is. But you also get to rest when everybody else is playing fast and furious right now, and those people could be losing points, right? Again, if Everton had a couple of cases of COVID, they wouldn't have played today. Now, fortunately, they got a result, but, it feels, and I certainly, ultimately, public safety is the most important thing, but let's also face it, these are professional football clubs. They are within a bubble. So if a lot of these guys are getting COVID, real quick, Sam, and then I'll let you add your thought. If a lot of these guys are getting COVID, what the fuck is their team letting them go out and do? Why aren't they keeping a closer eye on them? Why aren't they keeping them in fucking check? These are commodities. These are valuable commodities to their football club.
So the player bubble thing that we saw last season has not been in place this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of the restrictions have since eased based on the British government and Premier League recommendations. They've only been down to 1 PCR test per week as opposed to 2.
Right.
They haven't done the flow testing every day as they were, which they are now reinstituting after the record number of cases, even higher than the initial pandemic. They saw 42 positive tests last week amongst the 20 Premier League clubs in 1 week, positive tests.
Yeah.
Which is the most since the pandemic started.
Yeah, because during the pandemic, when they were on shutdown, there was maybe 1 or 2 an entire week.
I mean, even a month ago, there was only 1 or 2, maybe 4. But that's it. The bubbles have shut down because things were opening up. Things were, quote unquote, getting better. Now, whether or not these athletes have had the jab, have gotten the shot, I don't know. And it's their business, at this point. I know a lot of employers are starting to mandate that their people get them, and take from that what you will. If I personally believe in it. I got it. I still got COVID, but, I smoked for 16 years and didn't end up in the hospital. So I think it worked.
Right. And also, in the case of those players, let's think about it. They're well-oiled machines. They're in the best physical condition of their life. You can kind of understand, even in the United States, where some of them go, I don't know 100% what the fuck this is. I know everything I put into my body. Like, everything that I put into my body. And if I don't feel 100% confident in something, maybe I don't want to. Now, I'm with you. I've double vaxxed and boosted, but
listen,
that's the
argument I would have against that is Jamie Vardy dips and or smokes, drinks Red Bull.
Yeah.
Not calling him out saying he hasn't been jabbed, but just as an example. And then Yaya Toure, Kolo Toure getting banned for 6 months because of diet supplements that contained a performance enhancing drug in them.
Sam, I do insist that if you're going to refer to one Mr. Vardy, you refer to him by his Christian name, Jamie fucking Vardy, please.
Well, I didn't want to absolutely call him out, but sure, Jamie fucking Vardy.
We're
going to
talk. You got to call him by his God-given name. That's very important. Now,
I get that. And a lot of one report I heard again on Talk Sport today was that a lot of players were nervous because they thought it was going to make them sterile.
Right.
And honestly, that I'd love to hear that. That's fine, great. At least you have a reason.
Right.
My wife was nervous about that. She wanted a bit more research, give it a full pregnancy cycle before I get this thing, let's see what happens to the other women. That's an actual reason, I'm going to get the VAR microchip and all that fucking bullshit. And they're going to track me. That's bollocks. That is absolute fucking bollocks. So that's the shit I have no sympathy for. If you have a legitimate reason that you may be concerned, fine. But if you think the government is trying to microchip you so they can see how many times you go to McDonald's in a week and how many McRibs you consume, you're a fucking psychopath.
I have all the documents, Sam. I've read them. I'm just telling you. It's there. We talked about it last week. The
Salt
truth
pens and 20 McNuggets.
The truth is out there, buddy. Telling you what. Social checklist on your to be allowed to go outside. It's coming. It's all happening. All handled by the Take the Jab VAR microchip system. I'm just telling you, it's coming.
You know what else? Since we're doing it, every Indian laborer in Qatar right now, I'm sure, is living it up by the pool during the day. Every single one of them. You're absolutely right.
Good call.
Fucking shit.
Do you think the EPL should call off this weekend just so that there's no problem with Boxing Day? Just, you know what? Look, we'll push this weekend back. We'll find we'll find a middle of the week somewhere. Let's just cut it off. Try to stop this now.
So I think part of the problem is there are so many fixtures right now. They're trying to get through as many of them as they can. So in the new year, they can then take, as teams get knocked out of the cups, hey, you're going to play on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to try to fit these in. Because right now, I think there's about 12 games that need to get made up.
Yeah.
If memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, we just lost another 5 this weekend.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And that's what kicked it up to 12, I think. Would it hurt to take a 2-week break? Probably not. It would allow, kind of level the playing field again. It would allow everyone to be, past fit from COVID. Right. But it would also allow some teams to get some injured players back because of this nonstop schedule we've had for almost 2 goddamn years.
Yeah, true.
All that kind of stuff. So would it benefit the league? Yes. Would it push 2 weeks right now is like 6 fixtures?
Yeah.
So would that be too many to make up? Potentially. Yeah. So I think what they're trying to do is get in as many as possible, and they may explore like a 2-week shutdown, coming up in the new year when things start to calm down a little bit.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, then, Sam, let's just go ahead and just put the nail in the coffin, right? We're not going to talk about it. If there's a postponed game, we're just going to say the game was postponed. We're not going to venture into this anymore. We'd rather just talk about the action because there's enough bullshit surrounding all of this. So, the key thing for at least our listeners, all we care about is everybody is comfortable in decisions that they're making and that they're informed and that they're just being safe. That's all that fucking matters.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I just I saw the rules posted for the first time in an article. So I wanted us to actually see what that meant, because Manchester United didn't have to shut down their training ground until Sunday,
Right?
but they were one of the first games called off for the midweek.
Yeah,
where Tottenham Leicester was called off 2.5 hours beforehand.
It's so vague. It's so vague, and
it doesn't make a lot of sense. And big surprise, in a league that is the worst league in the world at implementation of VAR, big surprise they can't fucking figure this shit out either.
Shocker. Well, that's because they haven't put all the appropriate microchips through the jab into all the arms yet. Once they do that, VAR will be humming. I bet you. Just mark your words. On to happier discussions. It's a no Malort night for the DU football show.
Wait.
How about that? And 2 solid wins for the two of you, but for some reason, the really one-sided draw seems to be the bigger fucking story. Aston Villa 2, Norwich 0, Arsenal 2, West Ham 0, Everton 1, Chelsea 1. Say what you want about Dean Smith, and Sam, I know you've had some feelings about this, but Villa and Gerrard are the perfect fucking fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect fucking fit.
I never said that they weren't. I thought Dean Smith was given a bit of an unfair shake because of all the injuries.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, Norwich looked good in this game. They weren't out of it by any stretch of the imagination.
They had a couple of chances, and I'm sure, Mel, you had some squeaky bum time watching that match.
Oh, yeah. I've said it before. Villa tends to only be as good as the team they're playing against.
But all in all, up until the edge of the 18-yard box, I thought Norwich played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought they were fine. Even Tim Krul had a couple of pretty decent saves in this game.
He did.
Not least of which was from John McGinn in the 8th minute. I mean, it was a fantastic strike. Each bum cheek behind that ball.
Mel loves her, starting to learn her chants now too, and everything for the club. I'll tell you what, McGinn, he's starting to turn into one of those outside the box, and he's got an opening. Don't let that fucker shoot. He's gonna put a good one on target. He's
the Scottish Ruben Neves.
Yeah.
Although, here's a stat for you. We have yet to win a game where McGinn scores.
Oh, really? No shit. So you're like, just don't score, kid. Don't score.
Like, we need to break that trend.
Yeah, like I said, a pretty tight game, but I mean, ultimately, Villa prevail. I gotta say, Mel, if you would like to talk about it, the fucking kids. The kids looked fantastic. Ramsey, obviously, with the first goal.
I'm a big fan, and Ramsey's fine, but Chukwuemeka, oh my God, I heart that kid so much. So much passion and drive, and their debut, they got almost an assist and a cross on an attempt. They're just tenacious. And it was heartwarming to see the pictures after the match, because Steven Gerrard is a huge fan of that kid. And you see a big old bear hug that he gives them, and they're both grinning ear to ear. And he's a great addition. And you and I were talking about it in the car earlier. The thing I like most about Villa right now is it's not one player.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't miss Jack Grealish, because now we've got John McGinn, Matty Cash, Target is actually stepping up. Douglas Luiz. We've got a full team, and occasionally Danny Ings, full team of people all working together as a cohesive unit. And I heart Gerrard so much.
Well,
I know it annoys you, but I don't care.
You're able to insert these kids in the right spot.
Yeah,
so,
you are.
You bring in Chucky later in the match. He's young, he's fast, he offers pace. Like, that's when you want to put that kind of kid in the game.
Is that problematic?
What? Chucky?
You're able to insert kids in the right spot, and then Mel said, yeah, you are. Do we maybe want to delete that?
No. But the young players for them are really stepping up. And
it's 11:30, and I just assumed it was already DU after dark.
Yeah, that's fair, very fair.
Hey, well, I want to talk about Jacob Ramsey's goal. It was a great strike. It was fantastic. But Dean Smith and me were fuming at that defending.
Mhm.
I mean, just back off, and then get worked over by just a simple cutback
Mhm.
to give him the half a yard he needed to shoot.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to address the ball, right? If I was that defender running back, the other defender I would have seen out of the corner of my eye, I knew would have stopped me from getting a red card. So at that point, it's either I win this ball or Jacob Ramsey ends up on his ass.
Yeah.
One of the two things are happening, right? And if he ends up on his ass, that guy's there. So I'm only getting a yellow.
Yeah.
But instead, nobody took responsibility and allowed him to run in. And then now once they gave him the freedom of Carrow Road, he had a fucking ferocious strike. Absolutely true and brilliant. And Tim Krul had absolutely no chance, even though it was at his near post. I mean,
there was no shot, no chance.
I'm surprised he didn't take off. He was flapping at it so hard.
Yeah. And let's face it, he's also a lanky goalie too, so he's got a pretty good wingspan. And there was no chance of him saving that shot at all. No,
not a chance.
Whatsoever.
No way.
You got to start thinking now with Villa is that they're. What is that noise all about?
I apparently said something that made the Alexa go off.
Oh, very good. Heard. Very nice. Well, thank you for talking to us, sweetheart. It was nice to hear from you.
But then Ollie Watkins said, "Chuck a Mika ball, please," and put it in the back of the net. It was brilliant, great pass, unselfish because he was well in a position to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Just having the awareness to put the ball across the face of the goal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, showed a tremendous amount of maturity for his age and composure as well in the box in that situation. Instead of lashing at it, put a great ball in and get Ollie Watkins just to tap in. I mean, that was a FIFA goal, I mean, that's what you do when you're, beating up on 12-year-olds online.
It was so pretty. Like,
what that was?
Timing on it, all of it.
That was a Man City goal.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those tap it in inside the 6 because we're working you that well that's how we score goals. We just tap it in from the 6. This
I see.
Huh?
You want the conspiracy?
What's that?
Jack Grealish is reporting back Pep Guardiola's training methods.
Ah, there you go.
Oh, I like that conspiracy.
Except for why would the big 6 clubs want to help out the mid-table?
They don't.
Yeah, they'd want to hold it against them.
Jack does. Jack's loyal.
Hold on.
Grealish think of it as Grealish being the VAR microchip.
Man.
Jack Grealish. Undercover patriot.
Yep.
Fighting for freedom. That could be it. That could definitely be it. You're on to something. You're on to something.
Absolutely a double agent. He's pretending to be a Benedict Arnold, but in reality, he's an undercover spy working for the villains.
With every dive, he steals plans. With every dive, he steals plans.
No, it's Cavs Benedict.
Cavs Benedict. Perfect. Yeah.
Code name Captain Cavs.
Let's go ahead and move on to your game, Sam. You know what? That was a Gunners leapfrog the Irons, which is big, but that match had big time feel to it too. Like that felt like this is top 4. This is battling for fucking Champions League. It was feisty. It was good. It was open. There was a lot to it. That game was really fun watch.
Yeah. Now we've talked about before whether or not Arsenal has turned a corner, and I think after a couple of losses and then getting that win and then turning around, and now we have an opportunity to get into 4th place. And in my opinion, we absolutely dominated this game. I think West Ham only had about 1 shot on target from just 7 overall attempts. Arsenal's 8 from 21 attempts. So it was one-way traffic, even though we only had a little less than 2/3 of the ball. But it was Pablo Fornals had that one chance in the opening few minutes, and that was essentially it. For West Ham for a while, and then Jared Bowen later on, after a bit of a sloppy giveaway, put a shot on target to allow the contractually obliged great save from Aaron Ramsdale once per game to happen, which was a fantastic save. It was a comfortable height, but it was a fantastic save nonetheless. I think Soufal on a different day, if the referee was in a bad mood, could have been sent off for the first challenge. I don't agree that it was a red. It should have been a red. I think a yellow was probably good, putting the arm across the face and all that.
Yeah.
I've seen red cards given for less in similar situations, and I thought he probably could have considered himself lucky.
Yeah.
To be honest, but
also bit of a meal made of it as well. Like, I mean, but that's also to be expected.
Well,
you get an arm across the face, you fucking sell it. You sell it.
Let me tell you something. That's an appetizer compared to the penalty that Lacazette made a meal of.
Yo, Jesus, that was if we continue with our thought of the conspiracy,
Tierney was a Scotch egg. Lacazette was a full fucking lamb.
If last week had a bunch of conspiracy theory penalties, let's just go ahead and add this big 6-1 to the bunch, because that was soft.
No, I don't think so. I think it was a penalty for sure.
Yeah.
We've already seen it once this season in West Ham as well against Liverpool, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
It happened outside of the box though, but a decent enough tackle where the player's leg bounced on top of the ball and got redirected into Jordan Henderson, I think it was.
Yeah.
A foul was given, a free kick was given. Now they negated to do the red card, but they did give, I think it was Aaron Cresswell, a yellow for that challenge. This was in perfect conjunction, one of the only instances of consistency that we've seen from these officials.
Right.
Vladimir Soufal did not need to go over top of the ball for any reason. He did make contact with Lacazette. Now, Lacazette looked like he got hit by a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, yes, he made a meal of it, but it was a foul in the box. I think it was a penalty. And I think based on the evidence we've seen this season, it should have been a yellow card. And it's unfortunate that he got a stupid yellow before by going across the face of Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, fair enough. Well,
so I think everything was done properly in this situation, except for Lacazette's penalty, which was fairly soft, fairly weak. And Flopiansky got right to it with no issues.
I'm going to give you that it's a penalty. I think it was a very soft penalty, but I'll give you that it was a penalty. And I'll give you that it's consistent to other calls so far. I begged to ask the question, is that called at the other end of the pitch? I don't think it is. Because, again, for as many times as we've seen penalties given, we've also seen penalties not given because, quote unquote, they got the ball. We see that a lot.
Which they got the ball.
Yeah.
His calf landed on top of the ball.
Yeah.
And he went shin to shin with both of his legs versus the bottom of his boot or his toe getting to the ball first. The challenge was rash.
Mm-hmm.
It was not out of control. That's unfair. There was a sense of a recklessness to the challenge that for a player of Soufal's quality should not have been there. It was a fairly simple slide tackle to make, and he decided to lunge at it, and he missed and ended up going over top of the ball. And because he has pretty decent calves himself, ended up getting a piece of it. But had he been a little skinny boy, he wouldn't have.
I still think there's not enough consistency across the board because there's also that foul has also not been called as well with the assistance of VAR. I can't fucking tell you. I'll go back and look up all of them.
I'm just saying. I pointed
Graham,
out an exact instance this happened, and it was called.
Okay, Graham. It's because I don't know right now. But what I'm going to do is go research all the documents, and I'll make your life hell. We'll do an hour-long show where I sit there and tell you about all the inconsistency inside VAR.
All I'm saying is this particular call is not inconsistent with other calls. The calls at the weekend that we spoke about, why our show was named Soft Penalty on Monday, was because those penalties were actually soft.
Sam's annoyed because I'm disagreeing with him, and he wants me to agree with him because it's pro-Arsenal agenda.
I don't think that there's really a case to say that this wasn't a bad call.
I think it was a soft penalty. It's a penalty, but it's a soft as fuck penalty.
If you say so.
And I've seen people get the ball and not be called for a penalty. So, but it didn't matter because he didn't fucking score.
Well, exactly.
At the end of the day, it didn't matter because he didn't fucking score. Now, the bigger thing that I actually wanted to get at about your club, and beyond all this fucking arguing, is your team actually wasn't soft for once. And this is what I'm talking about when I said a big game feel. You had a team who decided to punch you in the face and push you around, and you all actually responded to it for the first fucking time since being under Arteta. And that's big. That's very fucking big. Because before all of that, y'all are a bunch of soft little kids fucking falling over on everything.
Yeah, we actually went and continued to press. We continued to push the issue for a change, where it was we would take the lead and sit back and then concede and then have to chase. And, this season we, actually taken the lead again and gone on to win the game here and there. But this time we actually took control, took responsibility, and continued to go forward. And that led to a fantastic goal from Emil Smith-Rowe. Tomiyasu was coming out of the back, was greeted by Masuaku, I believe it was, did well to hold the ball up and kind of get in his way enough for it to squirt out to Saka. Saka went on a great run, cut inside, which forced, I believe, Craig Dawson to come inside with him. Then he played a little reverse ball to ESR, and he went on a run. And again, back up, because somebody could have stepped to him and forced him into a rash decision, but they didn't. They gave him a bit of freedom, and he cut inside on his weaker foot and used that defender to shield the goalkeeper's sight and found the near post. It was a great goal, great counterattack. But other than that, I mean, Gabriel had a couple of chances. I mean, he had a half bicycle kick, for Christ's sake. They were pushing the issue. They were forcing the play. They were keeping West Ham at bay and keeping them away from their goal, from our goal. It was brilliant. It was a great performance. I was really happy with it. And this is where I say I think they've turned a corner.
Excellent. Very good. Well, that's good to hear. And I think I would tend to agree as well, because this was a tough one. Now, the next corner they have to turn, win against a decent team on the road.
Yeah,
because
the road has
been a fucking. It's not even just a road game. Because great, you go win at Norwich. Okay, well, yeah, that's a road win. But I mean, let's face it. Like 2 weeks ago, a depleted fucking Everton side at Goodison. That's a game you got to fucking win. Yeah, and you got frankly manhandled by the end against a very weaker side. So that's probably your next big hurdle.
What I'd like is like a draw at City or a draw at Liverpool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
beating Everton or beating Villa at this stage at Villa.
Yeah, beating Villa at Villa Park.
Something like that. Even if we did this same fixture at Upton Park.
Wolves at the Molineux. West Ham. Well, it's not Upton Park anymore. It's the Olympic Stadium. Isn't it?
The Olympic Stadium. Right. Sorry.
Foxes at the King Power. Like that's the kind of you need to win one of those. Now, here's the bigger question, and I want to move on to the last game. Is really 4 teams in what is, quote, the Champions League European spots. There's some other teams around, but let's really face it. It's really 4. Right now, it's West Ham, it's Arsenal. Well, Arsenal, let's say it's Arsenal because they're currently in 4th place. West Ham, Man United, and Tottenham. Who do you think's the Champions League team?
At this stage, it's going to be hard to say because we need to see what happens with COVID over the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We need to see who's got money in January to spend, of course, as well. I heard a funny joke today on again on the radio that said that if you can't fulfill your fixtures, you should be made to just pick a Chelsea loanee from somewhere across the world, and you should be able to recruit them in for 2 games.
I love that. Lord only knows there's enough fucking Chelsea loanees out there.
There wouldn't be a game missed if you were allowed to do that. But I think I'm sorry. The next 6 weeks are going to tell us a lot in that particular race. I think it is spicy. I think that Arsenal, if they can find the consistency with being so young, I think West Ham have the balls for it if they can get a little bit of depth. If somebody's not hitting Antonio, this was his 9th game without scoring.
Right.
So if they can find some depth or try to share the goals around a bit at least, Manchester United look a bit more organized under Rangnick. They, at the weekend with Norwich found it difficult, but ultimately found a way. At the end of the day, rightly or wrongly, they found a way to win the game, right? And again, they look more organized. So it's shaping up to be a very spicy affair for 4th place. Tottenham with so many games in hand, they're going to be there or thereabouts, right? It's ultimately going to come down to who finds a consistency, what money is spent in January, and what manager has the gall to, to take those chances when they come.
Yeah, I tend to think we know what we have in West Ham and Arsenal. We know what we have. The bigger question really is, what do we have in Tottenham and Man United, who are both under new managers, and what those new managers do and how that implements and changes the season. And also, a big thing's going to be too, when you're playing the right team at the right time in January with the African Cup of Nations.
Absolutely.
Like, United gets to play Liverpool in January. That's much better for them than if you're playing Liverpool in May. Like,
100%, exactly right.
It's very different.
Liverpool and Watford are the two that are going to miss the most.
Yeah.
I also truly believe, honestly, I haven't looked at his COVID status, but I think that's why you haven't seen Lokonga in 2 games. I think Arteta is giving him a rest now because he's going to be Thomas Partey come January.
Right. And
the young Belgian,
he's got Xhaka out there. He's got Xhaka out there playing because he needs to get him back into rotation. And
exactly,
and it's not
like
he can go
and Lokonga.
He can't go to El Neni because El Neni's going to be an African Cup of Nation as well.
Exactly. So it's going to be those 2 players. I think that's why, in particular, you're seeing that partnership right now, and why you've seen Granit Xhaka come back into the fold.
Yeah, absolutely. England's number 1, my good friend,
Aaron Ramsdale.
Get the fucking rave on, son. This game is 1-1 because old short arms Jordan Pickford fucking got it done, man.
He got beat at his near post.
Yeah, also a fucking rocket, just like the one you were talking about. Fuck you. He also made a bunch of the last time I checked, he stopped Mason Mount inside the 6, 1-on-1.
All right. Well, if Mason Mount wasn't fucking and distracted, he probably would have bid it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure thing. Very simply put, this game is a 1-1 draw for 2 reasons. One, the effort of Everton as a side. They just they played the game of this 20 minutes we're going to fucking win. The next 20 minutes were, and then when Chelsea did get a goal, they didn't let their heads down. They didn't get their heads down. They figured out a way to get one quick, and then they went right back to it. It was like, we're putting 11 behind the ball. Fuck you. Try to beat us. We're going old school Stoke on your ass. I dare you.
Well, so the crazy thing, I was listening to something today about what happened to Leeds, right? And these are perfect counterpoints. Is why you see teams, Man City fans complain all the time. People just come here and sit behind the ball. They just do this all they do is try to break a play. They're playing anti-football, whatever, the old Jose Mourinho style. Leeds were a bit naive and still tried to play their game, and look what happened to them.
Right. No, don't.
Everton decided, with so many injuries, so many young players on the field, with so little game time this season between them, so little relationships built with the others between them that we've seen because they haven't played. They decided to go, we're going to break up play. We're going to make it hard for them and don't let them break you down, basically. And it worked to fucking perfection. They had, based on the Premier League app stats that I looked at, 19.9% possession.
Yeah.
So less than 20% of the ball, less than 1/5 of the ball Everton had, still managed 5 shots, 3 on target, and a goal.
Yeah. It wasn't until Chelsea's 20th shot that they finally scored a goal.
Exactly. It was brilliant, fucking hard-nosed, behind the ball, defensive rearguard action from Everton. And it Chelsea with their own issues, missing Havertz, I think it was, and Lukaku.
Mm-hmm. And Werner.
And Werner as well. Yeah, I think they were all COVID, actually. Yep, protocol.
All COVID protocol.
So missing
one of them, Havertz, was feeling ill, did not test positive, but they did not have him play.
So you had three of their, possibly top 5, but top 4, depending on where you want to rate Werner that week. Forward players weren't there, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a bit of a depleted team, but Everton without DCL, without Richarlison, without, a lot of those players, and fucking Braithwaite is the one that gets the goal. I mean, it was a bit fortunate, to be honest, but he was there in the right place at the right time. He reacted well, and it was a good finish.
Sam, we started a 19-year-old striker and subbed him in with an 18-year-old striker.
There was a fair few names that I didn't recognize on your team.
Yeah, it was a lot of kids. Well, Braithwaite played a bunch during the
him I know
during the COVID restart in the summer. He had played a lot under Ancelotti, and then went out on a loan spell last season, and has been sitting as the kind of fourth, fifth guy on defense for a while now. And I imagine you'll start to see him play a little bit more, considering that Luca Digne's out of favor, which means Godfrey's going to be playing a lot more on the left, and with particularly with Coleman not being 100% health, and also just frankly being 33 fucking years old, I think you're going to start seeing him play a little bit more.
But also be 33 years old after a leg break.
Yeah, it's still
a couple seasons ago. I mean, he was in his 30s when he broke his leg, and that's unfortunate.
And still still a lunatic. Why? Because he's Irish.
Because he's Irish.
Now,
absolutely.
Quick question here about Chelsea. Now, I know they're missing some players, but their ability to not finish, this is becoming a problem.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with Lukaku being injured first, because he was on a fucking tear at the start of the season. He falls out of the team. You lose the hold-up play. You have to completely change the shape of the team because of that. And then when he comes back from that ankle injury, he obviously wasn't firing on all cylinders, because he started the first two and then came off the bench in the following three.
Right.
And didn't really change the game when he came in, to be honest.
Yeah,
in those 3 games that he got subbed in late on. And now he's out with COVID again. That inconsistency of action for him, I think, is going to be detrimental, to be honest, to Chelsea's chances, because they were set up to play a certain way, and now you have to rely on the likes of Havertz and Werner, who have been inconsistent at best, to be nice about it.
This could cost them the title, as you said. This very well could cost them the title. Now, the bigger story that I'm very interested to see, because I have not seen the post-game presser yet, but I want to figure out how it is Rafa, at the end, is able to lay on his back, take his legs, throw them over his shoulders, and actually suck his own dick. Rounding out the rest of the league, and so that happened. Manchester City a touchdown, Leeds 0. Wolverhampton 1, Brighton 0. Crystal Palace 2, Southampton 2. Liverpool 3, Newcastle 1. Just wow, City. Fucking wow. Like, they haven't done one of them in a while. Like, normally it's like once they get to 3, they just go, nah, we're just going to fuck with you now. And this one was just clinical.
So, and this is where I wanted to compare your game and this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because City didn't even have a full 2/3 of the ball, let alone 80% of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And City managed 31 shots with 15 of them on target. Chelsea managed 15 shots on target with 8 shots on target from 15 or whatever it was. Yeah. I don't remember exactly. It's not right in front of my face, but it was a lot less than that, and they had a lot more of the ball.
Typically, if a keeper makes 8 saves in a match, you're like, holy shit, he did well. He made 8 saves. He gave up 7 fucking goals.
Yeah, it's fucking wild,
insanity. Absolute insanity.
Now, I just wanted to touch on the fact that Bernardo Silva got subbed off at halftime and had the first brilliant chance of the match and didn't hit it and fucked your bet up from this round, which is very funny.
Cool. So I shouldn't talk about my bet at all then when we do the betting segment, because that would have been the perfect place to fucking talk about it.
I wanted to drive it home and drill you and kind of poke you a bit now. And then I'll let you do it later also.
We've already established that you have decided you want to poke me tonight. We have figured that out. The problem is, my good man, you're the little spoon in this situation. I'm the one poking you. You got to remember that, okay, stud?
Yeah, well, apparently you need to do better because mine was soft, if I remember correctly.
Excellent. here's a bigger question for you, because we got to get this rolling. We've decided to go long again, which we have to fucking stop doing, is Bielsa. I'm not at all wanting to say he's going to get fired, because Bielsa is not getting fired from Leeds. But we know Bielsa to be the kind of that just goes, I guess my work's done here. Bye. Do we think that could possibly fucking happen?
He's very much the type that says, like, I've done all I can do. It's not so much blasé, like, fuck it, and he's out. It's more like, it's just not clicking anymore, and I'm going to be the bigger man and leave.
Yeah, do we think that could fucking happen?
I do think that could happen. I don't think it'll happen before Christmas, because he won't want to do that to the club.
Right.
But after the first round of the FA Cup, I could definitely see it happening for sure.
All right, next one. Great. Wolves beat Brighton 1-0. That's not what we need to talk about. There's two very important things we need to talk about. First off, the Wang pulled a muscle. Well,
that's terribly unfortunate when the Wang goes limp.
It really is. Well, goes limp because of a strained muscle. I mean, that's...
So I didn't quite see this from the highlights, but I heard the commentator talking about it. Apparently, he went off with a muscle strain, holding his hamstring, and the trainer sent him back on to see if he could run it off.
Yeah, and didn't have anybody ready when he did it again, and just grabbed and started going, did the universal sign of get me off. I'm off. I'm done. I can't do this.
It's like, what are you doing? I hated
that was
this
Everton.
game.
Rafa would have fired his ass.
Right? I hated this game. If it was a woman, Jose Mourinho would have been yelling at her in the press.
It's true.
I hated this game. I thought it was terrible. It was an ugly watch. I didn't like it. The one bright spot was the goal. Everything else sucked.
Well, here's the funner part about it, is that there was plus 13 minutes. Why was there plus 13 minutes? Because it was all spent on a referee's fucking arm control system for his ear. First spending 5 minutes on the sidelines trying to get it fixed, and then just inexplicably blows the whistle, halts play, walks off the pitch. Like, the commentators even went, I've never seen this before.
Now, I want to know how brilliantly the Amex is set up that there is a camera that shoots so far down into the tunnel they could see the double doors, which are full glass, by the way.
Yep.
Brighton needs to fix that.
Yeah, you don't need to see back there.
Yeah. And the referee standing on the side of a desk with his shirt off.
Yeah. Getting
as they attend to what he was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. For the first stoppage was a good 5 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, as he fucked off down the tunnel, like you said, just bounced. Hey, I'm out.
13 minutes of added time to a second half that didn't have a major injury and only had one goal. 13 minutes, all because of a fucking referee.
Fucking cheap Chinese electronica, bro.
Oh my God.
For listeners of the Luke and Pete show, they must have had some Zagreb batteries. You know what I mean?
I'd like to talk about the game, but that's the talking points of this fucking game.
It really was. It really was. 103 minutes that game lasted.
A really needed point for the Saints. Really, really needed point for the Saints. And honestly, big letdown from Palace. I know it was only basically within 5 minutes where the Saints put off two fucking worldies. I mean, two back-to-back gorgeous fucking goals.
Absolutely.
Vieira's got to be laying into them boys, because you go out and you put up a performance like you did against Everton where you absolutely dominated them, and then in a match that you should turn right back around and do the exact same thing, you kind of fucking pissed it off in your own building. That's not good.
Again, just like the game we talked about earlier, Zaha had that dream start, right? Fantastic finish in the second minute or whatever it was. But Palace continued to press. They had the chances. They just couldn't finish.
Yeah, exactly.
They could not kill the game off. And when you do that, you run risk of this happening to you. And James Ward-Prowse on a stupid free kick, right, from a relatively innocuous position. I mean, it was kind of straight on, but it was more to the left side. Pretty obvious where he was going to go. But he's just very good at that.
More than anybody in the EPL. His 13th in the time that he's played in the league, no one's hit more free kicks than him.
Than he has, correct. Yeah. That since he's come into the league, I thought it was his 11th, maybe 13th. Yeah,
I thought it was 13th. I could be wrong.
Either way, no, it was definitely. I don't know what it was. Anyway, he's only, I think it was 8 away from David Beckham's record for top flight free kick goals.
And at his age, very doable,
attainable,
very, very attainable.
But he's very good at it. I think he showed a few of the, what people were up in arms about him not being selected for England in the summer. Because Gareth Southgate essentially said we need players that could do everything, not just one thing, basically calling him a one-trick pony.
He kind of is.
Well, yeah, but I think in this game he showed that he's able to defend a bit. He's able to pick a few passes. He's able to do the free kicks. I mean, not necessarily the first name on the team sheet, but also not a bad guy to come off the bench late in the game for England.
There's also a reason why he hasn't been signed to a bigger club yet, because the rest of his game needs to develop. For Palace, ultimately, when you look at the end of the season, this is why you aren't top half of the table. It's games like this. And now you've got the right man in charge that's going to try to make sure you all understand as a younger team, which, again, it's just funny saying, like, Palace, a younger team, for as old as they've been for so long, that they're a younger side. But this is where you look at them and go, you know what, this is why you finish in 12th or 13th and why you don't finish in 8th. Because you don't take care of these opportunities that you should absolutely win.
Absolutely. And conversely, Southampton, why you're constantly in a relegation battle is because you had the lead and you allow this comical set of, fucking pinball to happen in your box, and then a very fortunate cross to find somebody that hasn't scored in what I feel like is about 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jordan Ayew finally got a goal. Who
also famously loves to miss sitters, and he made a sitter.
Right. But it took, I think 7 different players touched the ball before it fell to the whoever it was that passed it to Ayew.
Yep.
So it's like, how do you do that?
So final match. The Reds just continue to fucking roll, man. Good Lord. I mean, even going down early, you were just like, no, it doesn't matter.
Even Jurgen Klopp smiled about it.
Yeah, they got this. Like, they'll be all right.
Well, no problem. But Jonjo Shelvey enjoying a bit of a resurgence.
Yes.
A couple of goals under Eddie Howe now. This one
absolutely.
From a full 25 yards out. Waited for the defenders to unsight Allison. Which was a good bit of patience, and then a great strike. I mean, it had venom to it. It had dip. It had swerve, but it honestly didn't need it because Allison couldn't see it in the first place. Mm-hmm. He was rooted to the spot. Jota equalized. It was under a bit of controversy, and then also took him 2 stabs at the cherry to do it. And then Salah took the lead after Mane's good work. Just 4 minutes after that, Jota's equalizer. Newcastle did have another couple of chances. And then Trent Alexander-Arnold, a.k.a.
Gorgeous.
fucking Thor. He brought the hammer.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He said, fuck you. I'm scoring.
Want to go ahead and bring up our email from December 6th, Sam.
Hold on. I just looked at my notes. I wrote a fucking screamer from a full 300 odd yards. Instead of 30, and that just, with as much power, it probably still would have went in had he been 3 football fields away.
Not denying that one. From our good friend and huge Newcastle supporter, Keith. He says, happy holidays, fellas. You are about the only commentators / pundits who haven't stated the Magpies are already relegated, as no other team winless in the first 14 has avoided that. Now that they have their first win, I have a question. If Eddie Howe leads Newcastle to a 17th place finish, should he win Manager of the Year for such an amazing feat? P.S. On a side note, solidly mid-table in fantasy.
Yes, I would agree. I think it'll be with a bit of an asterisk because he has 48 billion pounds to spend.
Right. Whatever players he needs, he's going to get this, and he's going to get it in January.
I think January is going to be a lot of loans. Next summer, should they survive next summer, they're going to get anyone they want. I think January is going to be a lot of loans of higher end mediocre players, if you will, which could serve a perfectly good team to keep them up. They could go 7, 8, 9 on the bounce and stay up and be fine.
Right.
But the summer is when you're going to see that cash fucking flow, bro. But yes, I could agree. If he keeps them up, he would be Manager of the Year. The only thing that I think may unseat him, if you will, is if either Arteta or Moyes pulls West Ham or Arsenal into fourth position for the finish of the season. That
could win Manager of the Year for either one of them.
I think that'd be the only thing. I'm not being biased about it. It could happen for West Ham as well. Yeah. But either or, I think, could also do the Manager of the Season bid based on that achievement alone.
Tuchel winning the league could also do it as well. That's really
fair.
Sure.
Absolutely. Especially now, after the position they find themselves in currently.
Well, one last thought. Keith, we have been as about as positive as we can be. You're making it real fucking hard, man. You're making it really fucking hard.
Sure Money.
All right, ladies and gents, this is Sure Money, where we put our bets on the table to help, kind of guide you and see how you feel about things and maybe win you some money as well. I lost this week. I'm now down $107. I have, another fucking idea for this weekend. But first, I'm going to toss it over to Big Sam, and I'm going to see what he's got going on.
7 fucking goals, and their most consistent offensive player does not score. I wrote, you missed a fucking sitter. That's for my couple losers. A fucking sitter. Like, the goal they score 20 out of 20 times, except for the one fucking time I needed to fucking hit so I can hit my fucking bet. So I am now down $1,145.
Big Sam's Lock of the Week.
Mr. Graham, the number keeps getting lower and lower. 11.1% of the time, it works 100% of the time. And I got to tell you, I'm still trying to just do sensible bets, but sensible bets don't seem to work. This week, I'm taking a parlay of favorites. I'm going to take Arsenal to beat Leeds, City to beat Newcastle, and Liverpool to beat Spurs at plus 250. There's no reason why that should not fucking hit.
Fair.
But it won't. I'm already reserved. I'll be down 1,200 next week because that's not going to fucking hit.
That's not true. You know what? Tottenham might not play. You might push.
Yeah. One could only be that lucky.
Hey, I didn't lose. Remember when Eddie Howe took over, that was the first thing he did as Newcastle manager was draw. I didn't lose the game.
Nice. So, Mel, do we got our boy tonight?
And now, it's time for our degenerate gambling friend Pat's Pick of the Week.
Up late on a school night, aren't we, buddy?
Oh, man, I hit both of my bets on Thursday Night Football, son. I'm celebrating.
Nice.
Celebrating.
Yeah, it only took a last-minute touchdown by the Chargers to push it into overtime, and then a last-minute touchdown or overtime touchdown for Kansas City to win both of them. Boom.
Nice.
Feels good. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So how'd your actual football bet go, mate?
Well, Manchester City fucked it by scoring, what was it, like 24 or 25 goals? I lost track. I can't remember. Yeah, no, I should have switched it because Liverpool let up a goal to not cover the 2.5 or 3.5 slate. So whatever, Hey, Arsenal won, so I'm not fucking your team anymore, right? Because I picked Arsenal to win.
Yeah. I ironed out that dollar bill last night, so I have it for you whenever you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Does it say fuckface on it?
That's funny. What do you have this week?
Old Billy Ripken reference right there, baby.
I had something to say, and then I just couldn't anymore.
Pat, very important for you to know, Mr. Graham's dart bet, it fucking hit.
Oh no shit! Nice. So you're 3 for 3 from Maryland Live, man. I'd live in that place if I was 3 for 3.
But let me tell you something. I'm fucking $400 up over this last week. Okay.
Well, yeah. Monday I was kind of recovering from my Sunday bets. I'm up 750 now with tonight's win.
There you go.
It feels like it's January 2020 again, like pre-pandemic and shit. Like sports are starting to feel like sports again. But anyway,
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, please.
I ain't jinxing shit. All right. And are you calling from? Are you calling from the bathroom on your cell phone too, Graham? I have to ask.
Okay, we're doing our best. All right.
We're on Zoom tonight. He's not in the studio.
Oh, I know. Anyways, so
that was a dig.
Not a dig at us. You and I sound great.
You sound perfect. So it's looking like these games are going to be postponed. More games are going to be postponed than actually played this week. I wish I could take the over/under on 2 or more games being postponed before the weekend starts. That would probably be minus 240 if there was actually a bet out there.
A line on it, yeah.
So I'm just going to take one bet this weekend because the parlay would probably fuck my bet because one of the games that I put on the parlay would end up not being played. So I'm just going to bet heavily against the Spurs. I'm going to bet Liverpool's minus 170 to win outright. I'm going to put 340 to win 200 on the Reds. So I could be very happy to be down $390 on Sunday. And, that's pretty much it.
It's not a bad bet. It's not a bad bet. Right?
Yeah.
The Spurs haven't played in a couple of weeks, and then your first game back, you got to play, fucking Liverpool, who right now is on fire. So, yeah, you're not wrong.
I think I'll be happy with a draw in that game. You know what I mean? Today you got a hell of a draw. I know you scored first, but in the 72nd minute.
Well, we scored second. They went up in the 68th, and then we scored in the 72nd. But yeah, it was okay. But yeah, it's a gutsy fucking. It's a gutsy draw. Like that was. Yeah, it's one of those ones where you say a point feels like 3. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. So, we'll see on Sunday. But I'll be. What do you all got going on this weekend? Y'all doing anything?
Oh my gosh!
All right, Pat. I'll let you keep listening in the background. He's been on the line for about 20 minutes now, just eavesdropping.
Fabulous! I love it.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Hey, thanks a lot as always, my friend.
I'm New York to go see the tree that got murdered in Maryland that's on display in Rockefeller Center. So
yeah, the Rockefeller tree this year is from Western Maryland.
No shit. Very cool.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I lost this week, as I told you. I'm down 107. And I had a very cool ABBA joke written for Berjan and ABBA not existing. Mm-hmm. And I was going to put in the Cup of Losers, but because ABBA didn't exist, I just drew this Powerpuff Girl crying instead.
Very good.
Because I don't think ABBA is a real band. Anyway,
Riot Fest, by the way, in Chicago has formally invited ABBA to come play the Punk Festival next year.
Yeah, because no one actually has a ripped ticket stub from an ABBA show. They did not ever perform outside of 14 people in a studio.
Yep.
Anyway, I've got a better bet this week. I've got a 5-way parlay once again to mirror the actual money I put down. Okay. I've got Villa to win over Burnley, Arsenal to win over Leeds, Chelsea to win over Wolves, City to win over Newcastle, and Liverpool to win over Spurs. Now, if we go by Pat's betting system, I've already won because all 5 of these games are actually happening as of right now. Okay, they're going to happen, so I'm already a 2-1 favorite.
Very good.
I'm betting $100 on this to win 838.
Okay, not bad. Not
It's
bad at all.
I couldn't really, with all the Leeds are in a bad way. Burnley, they haven't really played much because everyone they play has COVID.
Right.
While Villa are actually building some steam at the same time. So this is going to be enjoyable, I think, for me, and I'm going to win real money and money on the show, I think, with this one.
All right. Sure thing. It's going to get fucked off. Just don't let it be one of the 3 I picked so I can actually finally fucking win something. It wasn't a bad segment. We're running a little long, but it was good. You know what makes it better? Kitty the fucking chicken.
Well, Kitty hit with the villain's victory and is at 8-7. So for the weekend, I gave Kitty Man City traveling to Newcastle. Kitty quickly showed me a photo of her and famous actors Alan Rickman and Timothy Dalton. They were apparently hanging out in Soho enjoying a lovely curry. Pretty sure it was vegetarian. Or,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely not a chicken curry.
Oh, definitely not a chicken
No,
curry.
Kitty is not a cannibal. Now, they have all been enjoying London. But
Excuse me, I've seen Kitty eat a chicken nugget, so sorry.
It's McDonald's, though. That's not real chicken either.
Touche. Continue.
They may have all been enjoying London, but the guys are City through and through. So it looks like Kitty is picking City to beat Newcastle.
Yeah, very good.
That seems like a very safe bet. Kitty's always been a smarter chicken. Maybe you should just take her to the casino with you and see what happens.
You know what's really good is when the show runs long and you write a short Kitty segment and you didn't even know it was perfectly fitted into the show.
I thought it was fine. Do you know what else I can fit into the show?
What's that?
Remember to gamble legally and responsibly.
How'd it go?
Championship corner!
I've fallen and I can't get up. Oh no!
Well, since there was no midweek games in the championship, we have nothing to talk about. So I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by McDonald's, home of the white horse meat.
Excellent. Yeah, that was, knowing there was no games and knowing that we could have easily just removed it, I didn't. I just want that sound effect every week. I just need to hear it. I just need to hear Whiskey screaming, the whistle drop, and her doing "oh no!" Like it just.
Well, yeah, especially since we're live too, and she's now timed it to perfection.
Yeah.
It looked like you said it live there, Mel. It was brilliant.
Oh no! All right. Anywho, Sammy, let's get out of here. Parting words.
No, there. Other than unvaxxed dickheads, there were no cunts this week.
Very good. Excellent. Well, boys and girls, next up is injury time, where we're going to preview what little weekend's action is there is. But we're also going to take a quick look at the League Cup, which is happening in a week as well. Mel, you have a thought?
Hey, Pat, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Attaboy!
Hey, buddy. Hey, Pat, what's going on in your world, bro?
I'm just watching NHL highlights. I meant to mention that the draw with Chelsea was plus 1,500 today. When I saw that, I was like, God damn it, man! That would have been worth just a $10 bet right there.
Yeah, that definitely would have been. Pat, do you know that I don't think I've had a chance to tell you this yet, but on our sound check, you actually now open the show. We isolated you the last time, one of the times you were on the show.
It.
Yeah, this is perfect. So this is what we do. Every time we start sound check, this is how we start sound check.
How's it going in your world? I remember that. I was just as hammered as I am right now.
Yeah, and the best part of it is when that happened, like the next day, because Pat is a huge radiophile like myself, he's like, what the fuck was I doing? Why the fuck did I say that? I gotta stick to the script. What? God damn it,
Well,
fucks.
also, it was
then,
like right after a weird, awkward pause from us.
Yes.
So it was just like nothing was happening at all. It was dead air for about 12 seconds. And he goes, so what's going on in your world?
And so as a radiophile, he is both enthralled and mortified that this sound clip exists, because he goes, fuck, that's brilliant. That's really good. Fuck, why did I give them the opportunity to make said sound drop? Oh,
Well, that was a nice isolation there.
yeah. Well,
That was
well
very
done,
funny.
producer Mel. So, anyways, please come check us out on Patreon. Sam has pimped it a fucking enough. You do not need to do it again. You double dipped in the first segment of the fucking show, so you don't get to do it again. Till
Hey,
next.
you're welcome.
Till Monday, everybody.
Good night.
Born in the land of Bowie, Maryland. Bred to be a fan of fucking Everton. Punch you in the eye and drink your rye. Sam Huston.
Sam Houston.
Arsenal fans have another Sam. Right day, the fucking Gooner Graham. Stump of Malort. Look straight in shorts. Sam Graham, hey.
Sam Graham.
Brooklyn United! Brooklyn United! Hit the fucking mute button!